I'm Henrietta. I'm delighted to be here this morning to have an opportunity to share some ideas with you. So what is One Health and why is One Health important? Well, we share our planet, and our health, the health of everyone in this room, of everyone in Ethiopia, of everyone around the world, depends on the health of our farming systems, on the health of animals, and on the health of the planet. And One Health is an attempt to come up with an integrated approach to the health of people, animals and planet. We now have a global health security agenda, and One Health is part of that. And the purpose of the global health security agenda is to try to make the world safe from infectious disease and to make health security for all of us an international priority. Now, approximately 60% of all human infectious diseases discovered so far have originated from animals, and there's a very close relationship between human and animal health. What the One Health approach tells us, I think, is that the public health, the health of all of us, will never be complete in any meaningful way unless animal and environmental health are integrated with human health. And this is really about learning from the shared risks we have with animals and with our environment. What it takes, of course, is a collaborative effort of multiple disciplines working locally, nationally, regionally, and globally to promote optimal health for human, animals, and the environment. And that means bringing together different disciplines, as you heard Stefan describe. So it's vets, doctors, nutritionists, microbiologists, hydrologists, epidemiologists, anthropologists like myself, economists, engineers, public health specialists, agronomists, and geneticists. And many of those disciplines are actually involved in the ETHICOBOTS project, which is behind the work you've been hearing about this morning. Now, why do we need One Health? Why is One Health particularly important now? The answer to that is because we have increasing human populations, very rapid economic development in many parts of the world, and rapid urbanization. So take sub-Saharan Africa, for example. Population growth rate in sub-Saharan Africa is around 2.6% on average. And that means that by 2050, the population of Africa will have tripled. But 50% of that population will be living in cities. This is a massive transformation in human ways of living. And we are already part of that. Now, within that process of urbanization comes a huge demand for livestock products, and that's why we are interested in the intensification of the dairy industry in and for Ethiopia. And with that demand for livestock products comes consumer preference change, but also sometimes a particular interest in having access to certain kinds of products. That everybody around the world wants more dairy products, more milk. It's an increasing problem, not just in Ethiopia, but elsewhere. And behind all of that demand for certain kinds of products comes very rapid evolution of farming systems. And as the farming systems evolve and respond to the growing population growth, we get deforestation. Deforestation itself is part of climate change. In the context of the pressure of climate change and those changing human land use systems, we get pathogen adaptation, we get an altered balance between humans, animals, and the environment. Part of that altered balance between human, animals, and the environment is a series of zoonotic agents, of which bovine TB is one. The changes, though, that occur in that altered state, in that altered ecosystem, are unpredictable, both as they occur in animal populations and as they occur in human populations. So one of the difficulties we have in trying to take a One Health approach is that globally human health systems and animal health systems are still very separate and distinct. There's really little overlap or little communication between these two systems, and this separation is a problem, obviously, when dealing with diseases such as bovine tuberculosis, which spreads between cattle and humans. Now, what's happening with One Health in Ethiopia is, I think, very important for the ETHICOBOTS project. And the ETHICOBOTS project would like to be aligned with the evolving strategy of the government of Ethiopia in this area of One Health. So Ethiopia is an agricultural society with 80% of the population in close contact with animals. Stefan talked a little bit this morning about the growth transformation plan GTP2, which is about rapid and equitable economic growth in Africa, in Ethiopia, and it lays out a pathway for that. The Livestock Master Plan is part of the Growth Transformation Plan, and it's absolutely critical to the achievement of food and nutrition security at household, sectorial and national levels in Ethiopia. Now, both the GTP2 and the Livestock Master Plan taken together are designed to contribute to economic growth and also to climate change mitigation and adaptation. So Ethiopia has established a National One Health Steering Committee. That committee is responsible for the development of a strategic plan over the next 5 years across 4 ministries, and work on that strategic plan is ongoing. That strategic plan will focus, of course, on the coordination that's needed between government, stakeholders and research. And any plan for any government anywhere in the world needs to be supported by excellent research and evidence. And this is one of the things that we in the ETHICOBOTS project and all the partners in it hope that we will be able to make a contribution to. And one of the things we'd like to discuss with all of you today is how that might happen, what would be the appropriate way of making that kind of contribution. There are challenges for One Health, and this isn't just challenges here in Ethiopia, but it's challenges more broadly that Ethiopia is also affected by. So globally, agriculture is responsible for around 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization. And of course, cattle make up a very significant part of that agricultural system. Now, here in Ethiopia, you've got roughly 14 million cows producing milk, of around 800,000 are exotic or crossbreeds. So one of the difficulties here is, as the population grows, what will happen to the population of cattle? Will that grow? Now, growth in absolute cattle numbers could be a problem for climate change mitigation plans. But on the other hand, if absolute cattle numbers can be reduced, that's a possibility if projected productivity increases can be realized. So the productivity of each animal is important. That means looking at how improved feeding and animal management will feed into that productivity equation, and also how improving productivity will be attained through artificial insemination, through genetic selection, and through disease control. But in the challenges for One Health, we have to recognize that there are trade-offs, which some of which were mentioned by the Minister in his opening remarks this morning. And that is that there is a challenge, there's a pressure on land use. So land needs to be used for pasture, it needs to be used for the production of feed stuffs, and it also needs to be used for crop production. Getting those things right is important. In addition, intensification of the dairy industry, in fact intensification of any agricultural system, will have an impact on water and energy systems. And this is an important consideration when thinking about what's the relationship between the human health, the animal health, and the health of the environment and the planet. And lastly, I think there's here where we have intensification of the dairy industry in urban and peri-urban areas, we have to think about the impact on the urban areas themselves. One of the important things is that as more people move to live in cities, we have to think about the quality of urban infrastructure, the quality of people's lives. And one of the things that dairy production does do is to produce lots of waste from the animals themselves. So waste itself has to be managed. We have to make sure it doesn't enter the water systems. We have to make sure that anything that the animals are treated with are not entering the water systems. That those urban environments are kind of fit for purpose and fit for human habitation. You heard from Stefan that the current prevalence of bovine TB across the country is a little more than 15% taken overall. What we do know from the work that we're doing is that the intensification of production is increasing that prevalence, so it becomes important to understand the impact on both animal health and productivity through that process of intensification. So as the dairy sector grows, we have to monitor both the impact on animal health and the impact on productivity. Whilst we do that, we need to monitor also, as Stefan said, the potential impact on human health. And that's particularly important for all those who come into close contact with animals, but not only farmers, but also, of course, farm workers, especially working in conditions of intense production. And we have to think about food and milk quality and how that will be maintained, making sure that not only that disease does not pass from animals to humans in the milk, but also that anything we do to manage that disease is not itself introducing anything into milk that we would not want to be there. So all of these factors are really about the long-term sustainability of the dairy industry. So I would just like to say that I think the importance here for the ETHICOBOTS project is to understand, as the project goes forward, what we can do to help produce the right kind of evidence, the right kind of support for the One Health initiative within Ethiopia, which is being supported by the government with help from a number of organisations, including the Food and Agricultural Organisation, and how we in ETHICOBOTS can align what we produce in terms of excellent research and in terms of the management of the disease burden here in Ethiopia for better outcomes for everyone. Thank you very much.